Hi again, everybody. This is the Big Idea, Big Moves podcast. I'm Jamie Allison, and this is the destination podcast for high performers or people who want to listen to people who are high performing in their areas right now and get some tips and tricks and things that they can do to be able to move themselves forward. We talk to people from different niches, different groups, and different backgrounds. And today's guest is very similar to that. We've got somebody who is really excelling and excelling at a very young age. So we are going to talk to her, but I do want to do something we've done on the last few podcasts is just make sure that we thank everybody who is out there. Well, we're kind of inside doing all these in a different way because we're trying to figure out how to do things remotely and do what is right for people right now to stay home. There are lots of people that aren't doing that are out there working in healthcare or working in the grocery stores to keep things moving, or truck drivers that are keeping things flowing around our country. So just wanted to kind of thank them, and hopefully some of them are listening while they're going through all that stuff, and just know that we appreciate everything they're doing as well. So today we are really lucky to talk to Victoria Bach, and she has a really impressive list of accomplishments already. Really young age to be able to have done everything that she's done. She was the Canadian Women's Hockey League Rookie of the Year, and behind only, I think, and I'll maybe ask her that, but behind Marie Philip Poulan as kind of leading in goals in the league that year. And she led a really talented kind of Markham Thunder team in both goals and points. She is Boston University's all-time points leader in the NCAA team that she played with there. She's won gold with Canada's under-18s, has played in the Four Nations Cup, and Team Canada, she actually was just announced on the roster that would have been at the Worlds, and really kind of right at this time that was going to be happening, and because of everything else that's happening around the world, that was canceled. But maybe first of all, thanks for being on the show, Victoria. The other side would be, is that congratulations for that. Is it a bit of a bittersweet thing to be able to find that out? I guess that you were on the roster for sure.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Obviously, I got the phone call one day. I was at home and it was late in the afternoon, and the coaching staff called me and informed me that I made my first Worlds team. So I was super pumped and super excited. I know last year I got the shot to play on the national team. I got actually called up for the Four Nations Cup when one of the girls got injured.
Yeah.
So I got called to the camp and then ended up going to the Four Nations Cup. So I think I only really got to play in one game, but I was there, and I got to cheer on the team and help out the team as much as I can, and just really learn from all the other girls. So I think after that year, I made sure that I worked on the things I needed to work on, and so when I got the call this year, I was super excited. And obviously, a couple days later, we got some news that wasn't so exciting, but I think it would have been super, super awesome to play in front of all of our fans on home soil. I was really looking forward to that, for it being in Halifax. But, at the same time, I can't imagine what other athletes are going through, those athletes that were going to compete in the Summer Olympics. I just know, how I felt. So I couldn't imagine how they feel. You work your whole life for something, and but obviously, health and safety comes first. So we're all just going to keep working hard together. And like I said, next year it's going to be in Halifax again. So fingers crossed everything goes well.
Yeah, well, and so that brings me to the first part. I mean, we talked before we started here about everybody kind of being at home right now, and so even if you're not doing kind of what you're expected to be doing right now, you've got I would assume that goal of hopefully going to the Olympics in the next little while. So how do you kind of in the environment that you're in right now keep that kind of pace that you'd be doing to make sure that your training stays where it needs to be, and even just kind of your kind of mental space around that as well?
Yeah, I think it's a unique time, but also a time for all of us to grow as athletes. I think for me growing up, how I kind of got to where I am was, playing outside, playing street hockey, and my dad would build me rinks in my backyard, and really just playing around. So I think, kind of reminds me back of my childhood almost now during this time, getting out there, making sure, you're keeping up with your skills, whether that's stick handling with the ball or, like I said, I was talking to you earlier, we actually built a little gym outside.
Hmm.
So that's good. I can keep up. My trainer actually gave me a big program to follow. So
Yep.
that's been awesome. Canada's provided us with a lot of programming, and so definitely keeping in shape that way. And we've had some nice weather here, so getting out for walks and runs and all of that. So I definitely think that with the circumstances that we're given, we can still work out and we can still train, and
Yeah.
with hopes that we can get on back on the ice soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely missing the ice right now. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm sure it must feel completely different because like how long do you normally go without being on the ice? Considering you're probably a almost year-round athlete that way.
Yeah, well, I was actually talking about this with my friends the other day. I said this is the longest I've probably
Really?
kind of been away. Yeah, because it's been almost 3.5 weeks now,
Yeah.
almost a good month. So, yeah, it's been a nice break. Obviously, I really missed the ice and getting back on the ice, but yeah, it's just
It is what
it
it
feels
is.
like it is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Well, very
so
cool.
yeah.
And so when you were talking about what it was like when you were young, how did you always know hockey was the thing for you, or because I've talked with other athletes and they've talked about they've had 4 or 5 different things that they knew they were pretty good at, and they just kind of figured out which one was the one for them as they went along. Did you always know, or did you kind of find that out later?
I actually have like kind of like unique story because
Yeah.
I was playing soccer growing up. I like loved soccer, and
Yeah.
I didn't start playing until I was around 7 or 8 years old. So
Yeah.
which is funny because my dad was a hockey player, came from like a hockey background, and I remember I think it was like 2002. I was watching the Olympics on TV, and I turned to my mom, my dad. I was like, I want to be just like them. I want to be like those girls. I want to play hockey.
Yeah.
And my dad turns to me and he kind of looks at my mom. He's like, no, 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 like Victoria, like hockey's a boy sport. Like, I was like, no, I want to play hockey. So
Yeah.
with some convincing, I remember like the week later we went out, we got some equipment, we got skates, and I started playing hockey from there. And I remember my first time I was ever on the ice, I went to tryouts and for hockey. I was in skating lessons for a while. And I remember I was like the worst one on the ice. And that's where I turned to my dad and I was like, okay, like I want to start learning how to play hockey. So he'd build rinks for me in the backyard, and
Yep.
we'd be out there all day long skating, and every day after school I'd be out there. And I think that's kind of when I began to realize that I wanted to play hockey and I wanted to see where it would go and what would happen with hockey. And I remember still to this day making I got a call to go up and play junior when I was in bantam. And I
Yeah.
think for me, when I was playing bantam, that was kind of like my awakening, like, oh, maybe hockey will, come up something for me. And I remember getting my first letter in the mail for an NCAA school, and I was like, whoa, and never
Yeah.
thought like that would happen with hockey. And yeah, that was kind of when began to realize that hockey might, create a future for me. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I know, you know that I talked to Natalie Spooner recently, and she talked about her size at certain times because when she was younger, she was the younger age group, so she was smaller. And she said, but now, it's a little different because I am one of the bigger, women on the team. Um, I would hazard a guess that you're probably not one of the bigger women on the team right now. And do you think that because she talked about being smaller early on actually helped her because she had to do different things differently, and now that she is kind of one of the ones that isn't quite as small, it's helped her now. Has that worked for you, against you? What's that like?
Yeah, I think every team I've been on, I've probably been one of the smallest on the team. I
Yeah.
would say, if not the smallest, down at the bottom of the list for
Yeah.
height. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think for me, that's always kind of been a challenge. Some adversity I've had to face. Being a smaller player, it's a lot harder to get noticed at first. And
Hmm.
I definitely think a lot of people doubt you because of your size growing up. And for me, I had used that as motivation to make sure that I got in the gym and I was working out, and I was able to do the same things that taller people and bigger people that can do. So I think for me, I kind of began to really focus on getting in the gym, even things like nutrition, eating the proper foods,
Yeah.
when I was starting to play junior. And I think ever since I was in bantam, people always told me, you're too small, like you're never gonna make it anywhere. And as you can see now in the NHL, and when you watch professional hockey games, there's a lot of players that are smaller and
Yeah.
are really successful. So I think the game's definitely changing, and you see a lot of smaller players, which is amazing. And so I think for me, just really using that ever since I was a little kid, of people saying, doubting me because of my size, just kind of using that as motivation to make sure that I can, stay in the top shape, and that I come in on the ice and, obviously don't get pushed around, and
Yeah.
use skills like speed to, make up for my small size. So
Yeah, yeah. And when you were, when you made the leap from you finishing up at Boston and you went into the CWHL. So how did you find the transition there? Because I mean, one thing that might be different is some of the people you're playing against, who you would have seen before, because you do get, the big names were in CWHL at the time. How was that transition? And because it was moving from NCAA, was it as much of a transition, or was it relatively easy for you from a competitive standpoint?
I think definitely once I got drafted by the Markham Thunder, I began to realize that that summer was going to be a huge summer for me.
Yeah,
Just looking at all the talent and the pool of players that were in the CWHL last season, and half of the girls that I played against were role models to me, people I looked up to, people who have played in the Olympics,
yeah,
and I think so. I was super excited about that, to be able to play and compete alongside some of my idols. And I think for me, just going into the season, um, like I said, I just kind of went in with an open mind, and knowing that I worked hard all summer. And I had a great team last year, or 2 years ago now, with the Markham
yeah.
Thunder. Like, the girls were amazing, and they really helped me and guided me. We had some great leaders, and overall, I just think that being able to play against the best of the best every day really helped me just with my game, and even learning from all the best too, getting to watch them play, and little things like that, I thought was awesome.
How is that for you when I went to a Markham Thunder game a couple of years ago, and I know that when you came out afterwards, there were a lot of young girls that wanted their pictures taken with you, wanted your autograph, all that kind of stuff. How does that feel? Because I mean, you're still very young. How does that feel that some of those girls are not that far behind you? If you think of number of years, how cool is that they're looking up to you as being kind of one of those role models?
I think it's amazing. Like, it's so inspiring for us. And the reason I play hockey is because I love the game, and I see these young girls coming up, and they want to be just like us. And I remember being exactly in their shoes. I would go to the Oakville Ice Games, what it was
Yeah,
called back then. It was in the PWHL, and I remember going to the games, and I'd be by the glass, asking for a puck, and I had all my players that I'd watch, and that's how I would basically, I'd go to every game and I wouldn't miss a game.
yeah.
So for to go out on the ice and to see young girls, who are looking up to us, I just think it's amazing and incredible. And with everything that's going on right now, I hope that we can inspire them, and want them to play hockey, and be just like us, and aspire to play professional hockey one day.
Now you were doing a bunch of the Dream Gap sessions, I guess, before all of this happened, and before you were kind of heavy into the training with Team Canada. Um, what was that experience like for you? And do you see that hopefully continuing? I mean, I know that's the one thing is a lot of people are worried that, okay, you had a lot of traction at the time, and then things like this happen, and it's do you think that will flow through, or what kind of things do you think have to happen to make sure it kind of continues? Because you guys were really on a roll with being able to get um, lots of connection with NHL teams, and lots of connection with
Hmm.
being able to kind of promote the women's game.
Yeah, I think, after the year we had this year, I thought it was incredible. Every single event and showcase that we had was successful. And I my turning point for me was we were at one of the Toronto showcases and we went out on the ice and the entire stands was filled with just girls with signs.
Yeah.
And I thought that was incredible. So, the entire year we just inspired so many, young girls. And with what we did, I thought, we did incredible. And,
Yeah.
hoping we can keep doing what we're doing and keep moving forward and do what we did, but even better next year. So.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing a lot of people don't understand sometimes is the passion behind the game for the women is really, really important because, even the CWHL is a good example is that, most of the people there they had other jobs or other things they were doing, and it was purely about kind of wanting to play the game. It wasn't like you were getting big lucrative contracts doing that. And
Mhm.
hopefully you get a little closer to having that ability to do that for those girls following you. So, um, what has been the biggest? What's been you've had a lot of moments, I guess, already in hockey. What has been the one that stands out as being probably the one that has impacted you the most so far?
Oh, um, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like, throughout my career, I feel like, the first time I got to put on the Maple Leaf jersey was probably one of my favorite, memories. And just you see all the hard work, the sacrifice that you put in. And not only you, but like your family as well. I see, everything that my little brother's been through, to help me succeed. And
Yeah.
same with my mom, all the driving that she would do for me and my dad. And I think for me to, get to put on that jersey and um, finally get to achieve my goal when I was at under 18s. Thought that was incredible. And also I still remember my first time I played Division 1 hockey. I think putting on that Boston jersey was pretty awesome because it's quite the process to get to play Division 1 hockey. And
Yeah.
I think besides hockey you got to focus on school as well to get there. So I think it's a lot of hard work, and to be able to go down to Boston and play hockey is like a huge honor. And I just think about how you get treated like a professional when you're down there, and
Yeah.
all the memories I made there, will last a lifetime.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the difference too. When it is NCAA, you do get that kind of treatment that's a little bit different as well, right? So,
Hmm
um,
I yeah,
go ahead. No, yeah,
yeah, no, just thinking back to my NCAA career, it was pretty awesome. Like everywhere you go on campus, all of our student athletes knew each other. It was a tight knit community. And
yeah,
we'd all go support each other in different sport teams. And it was pretty awesome. And that was just like an incredible experience to get to go to the States and play hockey.
yeah. Now, how about on the other side of things, from a disappointment standpoint? Is there something that you'd say that you've really had to work through that maybe was really hard not to get, or to or something from a disappointment standpoint?
Disappointment. I would say for me, just growing up playing hockey, having some success when I was playing junior hockey. I think I didn't really get a shot to play for Team Canada until I was in my last year in grade 12. So I
Yeah,
thought that was something that I worked really hard towards. And then obviously after graduation, my huge goal that I had was to make the national team. So I think for me it was just making sure that I kept working hard, and finally this year I got the shot. So I think that was just something that I've had to deal with. Like I said, over time, people have, kind of doubted me because of size and
yeah.
things like that. And obviously, there's little things that come along the way, little injuries, stuff like that, that you got to really push through and adversity. So, yeah, I think those are kind of the big ones.
So you talked about you're a goal setter by the sounds of it. So with you, is that are you one of those people that writes them all down? Do you do that with coaches? Do you do what kind of process do you go through to figure out what's next for you?
Yeah, I think at the beginning of every year, I kind of have, some goals that I'll write down. I talk with them with my parents and family. And
Yeah,
yeah, at the beginning of every year, I like to set a couple goals that, I can say at the end of the year I achieved.
cool. And do you have maybe that's just something from an you know the standpoint of working with, say, a Team Canada or something like that, do your coaches, do they have a lot of involvement when you're not kind of right there right now, or how does that work? Like with your nutrition and all of that, is that stuff that you do yourself, or is there a pretty heavy plan when you set that up?
Yeah, they're always willing to reach out, and at any time we can contact them. They've been in contact with us during this break that we've had right now, so they're always reaching out. We get surrounded by so many amazing resources, and there's so much knowledge. So really, at any time, we can reach out to them, and they're willing to do whatever and help us out, which is amazing.
Yeah. And so a lot of other people that are probably listening now, I'm assuming there's probably lots of girls, young girls that are listening, and things can be a little bit tough right now because they may have thought that I know there's lots of people that are, okay, I was going to graduate and here's what was going to happen, and they had in their head what that was going to look like, and it's going to look different now. So from your end, do you have any advice to somebody that's kind of thinking, okay, I have my goals and things change, or I maybe don't meet something and have to change them? From your experience, what would you say to somebody like that that's having to go through that?
Yeah, I think just with what we're going through right now, I think the most important thing is, everyone just keeps working hard and, with this time off, really use it to your advantage, to, get stronger and, even improve on things that, you needed to improve on throughout the season. And not only that, I think this is a time to, connect with people, connect with family, and connect with friends. And I think we're just in a really unique spot right now because no one really knows what's going to happen when this is going to be over, etc. So I
Yeah.
think the most important thing is that you just keep working hard, and I do believe that there's a plan for everyone, and everything happens for a reason. So I think that if you work hard, good things will happen.
Now, one of the things that I did hear is that I think on your current team right now that you would have been, so let's say you were playing, I guess would be over now or just about over, if not over. You would have been, I think, playing on a line with Marie Philip Poulan. Am I right about that? That I think you were going to be?
I wasn't. We weren't really sure about lines, but yeah, we didn't really get that far because obviously
Oh,
our
did you?
road got
Yeah.
got canceled. But yeah, I'm not really sure who I'd be playing with, but
Yeah.
that'd be pretty awesome. Like,
Yeah, I would say, like, how is that when you're on a team like that? There would be, some people that are truly like at that stage where they're kind of legendary in Canada because of other Olympics and things like that. Is how is that to know that, if it's your kind of first time on that team truly, and let's say you go to the Olympics that way, and you're playing beside somebody that has that. How do you kind of keep that in check for yourself too? Because it's gotta you got to be also kind of looking and think, wow, this is really, pretty cool. But at the same time, it's probably a little strange to have that happening to you.
yeah, I think the beginning of the year this year, actually, we were playing in Pittsburgh, and I got the chance to play with Marie Philip Poulan. I was playing on the
Yeah,
wing with her and Emily Clark,
yeah.
two amazing players. And I actually got the chance to play with Poulan my first year at BU. She was a senior and I was a
Oh, I
freshman.
didn't know that. Yeah,
So she made my time at BU. Coming in as a freshman, it's overwhelming. You're moving away from home, things like that.
yeah.
I think she helped me out a lot, and she's definitely someone I really look up to. And so to be able to play with her in that one tournament was awesome. And obviously, you get kind of nervous on the ice. You want to make sure that you do extra well when you're playing with someone like that with such high talent. So it was awesome.
Yeah, very cool. All right. So the thing that we ask every guest is a different kind of version of this, but we ask for them to kind of give a couple of things that somebody listening would be able to do. So we'll kind of talk about it being that there's somebody who's listening right now that's trying to figure out how do I kind of keep myself focused at the same time as being kind of really balanced, because you talked about it's a good time to be able to connect with family because you are there and really don't have that same kind of time. The other
Mhm.
side would be, how do you keep yourself focused on, for you, athletics, things like that? Would you say, what would be a couple of things that somebody listening could do today or tomorrow to just kind of keep themselves moving from that standpoint?
Yeah, I think one big thing for me is like just routine. I think, obviously now with no schedule for all
Yeah,
everyone out there, I think a big thing would be just routine, like making sure that, you know, each day you have something that kind of like a schedule. I know for me, making sure that every day, usually at the gym, we wake up around 8. So making sure I don't sleep until like 12 so that when we get back to, you know, normal life, things are in routine and it's not like a wake up call for your body or anything like that. So definitely having a schedule, I think, is super important. And I think another good thing, another good, you know, word of advice I have for people is, well, everything that's going on right now, just, you know, maybe setting some goals. You know, what will I get out of this, you know, time away from training and hockey, whether that's, you know, like I said, connecting with family. I think for me, I've actually tried to connect with, you know, friends, university teammates. We've, you know, tried to arrange some Zoom calls, little fun things like that. I think a couple of me and my teammates a week ago, we had a baking competition. So that was awesome, you know, doing different things, you know, stepping aside from training and just getting your mind in different spots. Like we're gonna do another cooking competition. We did a baking competition. So fun things like that. And I know for some students, maybe if they're, you know, continuing their studies while still training, I catch up on all those studies, do whatever you have to do, applications, etc., things like that. And then, like I said, most important thing I would say is, you know, set a couple goals for what you want to achieve or accomplish while you're, you know, in quarantine or while you're away from training.
Yeah, in some ways it's an opportunity because you've got that time that, you know, people just don't have anymore. So it's yeah, if you take a look at it and be intentional about it, you might actually be able to come out ahead by having that extra time.
Yeah, I like to say, like, when in your life, it's kind of like we're in a movie. It's like, when in your
Yeah,
life will everyone be in the exact same spot, forced, you know, to stay at home? So I say to
hopefully
all of
not
my
often.
friends, hopefully not often, right? So
Yeah,
I say to my friends, I'm like, you know, this is just an opportunity for all of us to really come together and connect. And like I said, you know, thank the people that are, you know, on the front lines for us, fighting every single day. And
yeah.
you know, we're really appreciative of all those people. And just little things like that, I think, goes a long way.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thanks for taking the time, Victoria. We really appreciate it. Being able to kind of hear from you at a time when, you know, it's a little bit different for everybody. It's kind of cool that we can kind of hear how you're dealing with that and some of your advice around it. So really appreciate it. And one thing is, anybody who's listening, if they go to connect with you or anything, is there any thing they can follow, or how would they go about doing that?
Yeah, for sure. So you can either follow me on any type of social media platform. It's the same for my Instagram, Twitter. It's at the Bach, so that's VEEBACH 21.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I'm sure they'll want to do that and follow your career over the next little while. Because if you haven't had the opportunity to see, then make sure that you do that. To make sure that you connect in there, because she's going to be a big player over the next little while. So again, thanks. And anybody
Thank you so
who
much.
is no problem. And anyone who's kind of sitting there trying to think through some of the stuff that Victoria was just talking about, there is on our website a form that you might be able to use. You can do it online or you can do it wherever you'd like. And it just kind of breaks down setting goals for family and health, and then also business if you're into business and things like that as well. So you just go on to www.bigideabigmoves.com, and you can pull that up. It's free. Just kind of take it and use it. And we did it at the start of the year because that was kind of when everybody wanted to set their goals for 2020. For a lot of people, that's completely shifted now. And so this is a good time to sit down and kind of rethink it or think it for the first time. So thanks very much. The other thing is, if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, make sure you hit subscribe on there. We have fantastic guests every week. And if you look back, we've got some really cool back episodes too that you can take a look at. There's everybody from Joe DeCina, who runs Spartan. He's doing lots of cool stuff online right now too. And you've got Heather Monahan, who is again a big. She has her own podcast as well, Confidence Creator, and has been on Gary Vee and a whole bunch of other things. She's fantastic as well. So lots of great people to listen to. And again, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to everybody again on Big Idea, Big Moves.